Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is McGee Clegg. He's a Twitter personality. He's been getting pretty involved in the kind of digital nomad and Latin America circles. He famously naturalized as a Mexican citizen, which is pretty sweet to have that anecdote. And we welcome McGee to the podcast.
Yo, thanks for having me, man. Really excited to be here, and yeah, really cool that we connected through Twitter and well X, and then yeah, I've been following your stuff for a long time. Really pumped to be on the show.
Absolutely. What was it like kind of putting yourself out there and just starting to, tweet and everything using what I assume is your real name and, just putting yourself out there?
Yeah, I've had a Twitter profile forever, but didn't really ever use it. I think I like established a Twitter profile in like 2009, and then like it is my real name. And then yeah, I started like actively reading Twitter for like a couple of years. And then I just saw a lot of interesting personalities like you on there, a few other people that I thought were fun and interesting living a similar lifestyle. And then yeah, I just said, hey, I think it was like the end of March. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like tweet every day and just like see what happens.
Mm,
And then and that was awesome because I started tweeting just about general things in my life, and I think another guy that I saw was like Geologo Trader down in Argentina,
hmm
and that guy was just tweeting general things, and I thought, okay, like I'll just like see if that's interesting, and the coolest thing about it is it's just connected me with people. I think that's why I like doing it. It's because I put stuff out there, other people resonate with it, I resonate with their stuff, and then it's actually led to like making a lot of friends also, which is kind of cool. Like a lot of people here in Chile that I've met through that, they see my tweets, they'll reach out to me on LinkedIn, even be like, hey man, let's get a coffee, all that stuff. And so it's actually like broadened my social circle in a way that I didn't expect. And I think it's been really rewarding. And then some of these things like take off and go viral. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So, but yeah, but overall it's been a cool experience.
What advice would you have to someone that maybe they're doing something similar to us? They're already living the nomad lifestyle. They probably do have some life experience that they could bring to the table, but maybe they're scared or something. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I always thought, my life wasn't that interesting. I just thought like, oh yeah, like I'm out here living a life that's, non-traditional, but I think it's fun and it's for me. And I always just thought, like who would care about that? Like, but then, so if you are doing something that's like out of the ordinary, that's non-traditional, I think people would be very surprised how big of an audience there is for that type of content. And I think there's a lot of people that are living general paths in the United States, Canada, or even Western Europe, things like that, that are always curious, like, what would that be like if I just said, what the heck, and just like actually took a different path? And I think so, anyone that's like doing something a little bit interesting, living abroad, even occasionally taking like trips abroad, more consistently than the average person, I think I would encourage people to write about it because what you'll find is you'll find other people that are interested in the same thing, and you start to connect with them, and it just enriches the experience and you can meet other people through it. And I think a lot of people can benefit from the information that you put out there because, yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me just like, wow, Mickey, this is so interesting what you're doing. How did you do that? And genuine curiosity. It's like, I had no idea how much of a demand there was for people that were curious in this type of
Mm.
lifestyle. So I would encourage it. I think it's really cool.
And just so we set some ground elements here. So you were born and raised in the US?
Yes. Born in New York City. My family moved to the suburbs of Chicago when I was 7, raised there. And then I went to school in Los Angeles for undergraduate at a place called the Crema Colleges. And then did a master's at USC for film directing. Yeah, that's my background.
Okay, sweet. I don't know. You had like, some flags in the profile. I'm like, this guy might be one of those like really, you're like European, but with the accent. I don't know.
No, 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 yeah.
Okay, okay.
No, Yeah, I just moved
Okay.
abroad. It was all me. My whole family lives in the United States. But yeah, there's like six kids in my family. They're all based in the US. I have one sister that works with me. She runs operations at my company, and she lives in Mexico City actually too. So yeah,
And so the big question is, why be abroad? Why be outside of the United States? What are the pros and cons?
amazing question. So when I started this stuff, it was mostly I I love traveling at first. Like growing up, I was always interested in that, always reading about travel, inspired by people's stories. But I had a little bit of experience backpacking, living abroad when I was a little bit younger in Asia. But the moment where I like actually took the decision, what the motivation was not the reason why I stay abroad. So I think that's interesting. It's like I think
Mm,
I learned a lot more, and I now prefer living abroad. But when I started, it was more that I had started this marketing agency in 2014, and I had a lot of student debt at the time. It was like $230,000 of student debt, and the bill was quite high.
oh my
And I was
God.
also, yeah, it was massive. I think my payment was like $2,600 a month or something insane like that. And I could have done like income based payments and done all this stuff, but I was like, no, I was doing the calculation. I was like, dude, and I was a filmmaker too. Like doing film in LA, and it's very hard to get by when you're starting out doing projects. But I was moderately successful, relatively successful for my age. And but I just said, you know what, this isn't going to work, and I don't think I can get like if I just do income based payments, I'm going to end up with like $1 million in debt if I don't make it as a serious filmmaker. So I was like, I need another plan, and so I started a marketing agency, and I just started doing like marketing automation setups, all this other stuff, like got into SEO, Google Ads, all that, started offering services. And it started to work out. But, it wasn't to the point where I could like live a really great lifestyle. I was still had this huge payment that I was paying off. And I was barely getting by. And so I was looking at options, and I was like, well, how could I like improve my lifestyle during this period? And I was looking at, okay, well, I read the 4 Hour Work Week, and I was like, that's interesting. Maybe I could run this from abroad. And so I literally just like packed up my stuff in like February 2017, and I moved to Buenos Aires. Like, I just started there, got
Mm.
an Airbnb. And the main goal was like, let's reduce cost of living. Let's like enjoy my life a little bit, also have an adventure, maybe learn some Spanish, and see if this is a more fun experience growing the business. And it turned out to be like the greatest decision ever. And yeah, immediately, like if you're not living on a ton of money, you don't have a huge income, which I didn't at the time. I was just starting out with the business, and so it allowed me to figure out a whole bunch of stuff. But the other benefit that I realized, and I didn't realize this at the time, is like there's also tax benefits from living abroad. I realized, oh shit, like I can actually claim up to a substantial amount of income tax free, which also helped me pay off my debt faster. And then on top of that, I then started to learn Spanish, which was really fun. I found that to be a really cool adventure, and now I'm fluent. And then, what I also realized is I just enjoyed the lifestyle a lot more. People were, I don't know, as an expat, I'm not really sure. I mean, there's materialism everywhere, and there's like always this feeling in the US of like trying to keep up with your peers and keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. But I feel like as an expat, you just kind of like, you're like detached from that mentality. It's more about like what do you want to do, and what are you interested in? It's kind of like you're outside of these weird expectations, and I thought that was interesting as well. So I
Mm.
just started to feel like I was forming my own life based on my own interests, and that eventually led to a lot of other adventures, living in a lot of other countries, and eventually Mexico for a very long time, and now Chile. But I was just kind of like moving into
Hold on, hold
a
on, hold
step.
on.
Yeah,
So go. All right. You splice this together. There's no way it's going to be perfect because you were on an absolute roll. But yeah, kind of differences when you got to Argentina. What was immediately when you got there in 2017 and you said this is the best decision I ever made? What was it that made it such a good decision, or what felt so right about it?
yeah, absolutely. So essentially, you roll up in Argentina 2017, and like I could take a budget at that time of $2,000, right? and I could get a very nice apartment in a good part of town in Palermo, and I could go out and pretty much eat out most meals, have a life, date girls without financial stress, and also just like have this amazing freeing adventure that is just kind of like it's a beautiful feeling to like go to a place where you know nothing and everything's new, and you also all of a sudden go from like struggling in the US, trying to make a business work, worried about if you're going to make rent, worry about if you're going to like pay your bills. And all of a sudden, like all that financial stress went away. And I'm able to make my student loan payments plus more, plus have a higher lifestyle. And I was like, this is no brainer. This is like so much of a relief of stress for the moment in time that I was when that was 2017. And so that was the initial reason, right? But then, as you dive into it, I've been living abroad, like mostly Latin America for that entire time. It's now 2025, right? So, but now could I go back to the US and live a really nice lifestyle? Absolutely. The company's been successful. And I think that, a big part of that is because of the financial savings, because I moved abroad. It allowed me to kind of do things a little bit more calmly, make better decisions, and grow the business more comfortably. But I stay abroad because I prefer it now. I like the lifestyle, I like the culture. I speak fluent Spanish, and yeah, become a Mexican citizen. And now I like live in Chile. I don't know. I just prefer it, man. I love it. It's
Mhm.
it's a really great lifestyle.
There definitely is a percentage of people that go back after a couple of years, even the ones that learn some Spanish. Some of them do ultimately go back. Um, there's no best decision, it depends on the person, but it's a very interesting concept, like what keeps you there versus what made you move there originally is very different, right? Same thing. It was like it was kind of for the parties and the girls and the low cost of living, and then later it becomes about the taxes or the quality of the food or the quality of relationships,
Right.
and sort of a different set of benefits.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing that's interesting too is like, as a foreigner going abroad, I don't know why, but it's like crazy things just like happen to you that wouldn't like normally happen in the United States. And like I don't know, like I remember like my intro to Mexico was interesting. It was like this whirlwind of an experience, but it's like I rolled up, I was there for a few months, I met this girl. This was in like 2018, and we started dating, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like this girl, she was very high up at Vogue Latin America, and all of a sudden I'm in all these crazy parties. Then next thing I know, like I'm engaged to this girl 6 months later, and then I'm like being featured in Vogue magazine. It's hilarious. then it's like then it's like, oh, this guy's marrying this girl in Mexico, and then all of a sudden like I'm married 10 months later, and then I'm divorced 2 years after that. but like, you know, these experiences are just kind of like, you put yourself out there, weird things happen to you, you roll with it, and good things, bad things. But at the end of the day, I just think that but it leads to a lot of interesting moments. And I feel like you can meet people that you wouldn't normally meet in the United States. Same things happened in other countries as well, in terms of just being exposed to a broader network of people that, live life in a different format than you do. And I think it's an interesting way to just kind of experience life, ride the journey and see what happens. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I would recommend it to anybody, man. Like just put yourself out there and see what happens.
And I love asking people, sometimes you notice it most also when you go back and you have that reverse culture shock. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes. Yeah. Like, yeah, you just kind of like in Latin America, especially, there's just kind of like a chill vibe. Like, a lot of things can go wrong, but you're kind of used to it. And you're just like, you learn to be a lot more patient. And generally, people are just like a lot more just low key understanding. But when I go back to the US, it's like there's like this intensity about stuff. It's just kind of like, people are very impatient and they expect everything to be perfect. And that's like the biggest thing when I go back is just kind of like, whoa, like there's like this weird, intense energy of like expectations on the smallest things that I think are just unnecessary. And I don't know, it's just kind of like when you go into Latin America, I just feel calmer. Like you show up at the airport and it's just like, oh, people are like chill. And that's what I like about it. And I don't know, it's hard to describe, but for me, that works a lot better. And but yeah, it's interesting. And but yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you generally have experienced with
Yeah, it's like Latinos are like the only people that aren't complainers. You know, it's like
that?
Americans are complainers, Europeans are complainers, you know. It's only the Latinos that are just like, oh, whatever. It's like there's an earthquake in the next town. It's like, oh, okay, let's
Yeah, that's
walk
the
outside.
truth.
You know?
That's definitely the truth. Yeah,
It's
things
like
can just go wrong and everything's a disaster. But oh yeah, this is life, man. All good. Oh
the bank
yeah.
closed for 3 days. It's like, oh, okay. Guess we go Thursday.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I guess speak more to some of the so you were in Mexico for a number of years, right? And now you're in Chile, and that's kind of
Yeah,
becoming your primary base, or are you thinking of things as like a trifecta, which I know you speak a bit about flag theory type stuff, or are you more like a
yeah.
one base guy?
Yeah, great question. So I was in Mexico for like 5 to 6 years, I'd say, right? So, like, I think I became a resident in 2017, like on paper, and then, but I was still like living outside of Mexico for that first year, mostly in Argentina, a little bit of time in Colombia, and learning Spanish, just kind of getting my life together. And then I went to Mexico. I got married quickly and then learned what Divorciado Express is in Mexico City, which was an interesting experience.
Okay.
Very fast experience. But from there, I actually like moved to Guadalajara. And the reason at that point, like when I got divorced, I was actually thinking like, oh shit, like maybe I should just get the hell out of Mexico because this is gnarly. but but I wanted to become a Mexican citizen. So I decided, no, I'm going to stick around. It's like 2 more years. I'll just like check out another city, kind of change scene. I went to Guadalajara, had an awesome experience there for 2 years, and then was eligible to apply for Mexican citizenship at that point. And so I applied, and I could dive into that a little bit more in detail. The but after that, once I became a Mexican citizen, it just kind of like opened up a little bit of an opportunity. I just thought, okay, like I got this Mexican passport, which was always kind of like a goal for me. I don't know why. I just thought it would be very cool to have two passports. I just thought that was interesting.
Hmm.
And so I went through that process. And then after that, I was looking around for like, okay, like I would like to live in a few other places. I checked out Europe for like 4 months. I was living a little bit of time last year in Madrid, and I was seriously considering like staying in Madrid. But for my type of business, the time zone is just like a little bit crazy. I'd rather just kind of like vacation there, like a couple months a year and things like that. So I spend time in Spain.
Hmm.
And then, but then I was like, no, for like a full time base, I'd rather stay in Latin America. And so I was always interested in Chile. And so I flew all the way down to Chile and I stayed here for a month and I loved it. I just absolutely fell in love with the place. The main reasons were because access to nature is insane here. It's just like a modern, beautiful city. And if anyone hasn't been here, of course, like there's shitty parts of Santiago, but like there's the majority of it, like where you'd actually live, is actually insanely modern and gorgeous. And I highly recommend visiting if you haven't. Awesome restaurant scene, beautiful parks, and you have hiking trails. Like there's like 23 plus hiking trails like right in the city into these mountains. It's amazing. So fell in love with it. And what I also learned is there's tax benefits. So in Chile, you can stay here for your first 3 years of residency and not be taxed on foreign earned income. So they have like a tax holiday, so to speak.
Hmm.
And so that was appealing to me. So for the moment, I'm going to be spending most of my time in Chile. But in the future, like in terms of a landscape idea, like I do envision myself kind of splitting um, more time in Mexico, more time in Chile, more time in Spain. But that would be kind of like a trifecta. That's kind of the goal. That's what I'm doing. So right now it's like mostly in Chile, but I will kind of expand that after 3 years. Yeah.
Random question. I hear differing opinions on the renewal of the 3 year exemption for 3 more years. And they say,
Yes.
oh, it can be renewed. You can make it 6 years. Some people say it's tough to get it renewed. What's your experience with that?
I've talked to a lot of lawyers about it, and there is differing opinions about it. But the general response I get is I haven't met anyone that has successfully renewed that. So I don't know of anyone. But there's also yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information like on the ground versus what the law says too. Um, I at the moment like I'm doing everything compliantly and everything like that, but I am aware of yeah, a lot of people just like, they just stay in Chile forever and they're just like not, filing anything also, which is kind of not recommended, but that does happen as well.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. Okay. Well, something you do have experience with is getting Mexican citizenship. So why don't we get into that a little bit?
Totally,
So, because we,
totally.
we talk about this a lot, we say, okay, 2 years, if you can do 18 months in Mexico during a 2 year period, you can get citizenship. Me, myself, I have permanent residency. So I know that if I can do the 18 months within a 24-month period, I can apply for citizenship. You've actually done it.
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, it's an amazing process. It's all right. So this is how it works. And I would recommend it to anyone. Like, and it's really cool, like having a Mexican passport. Like, I don't know, it's just fun. Traveling abroad, like showing up with your Mexican passport, it's actually a great document. I think you pretty much have equal traveling rights as a US passport, except entry into the United States for the most part. And you actually have a lot of benefits like going to Latin America. You don't need a visa for Brazil and things like that. But yeah, the process is exciting, but it is a little bit daunting at first because you then start looking into it. And you're like, okay, I could do 18 months out of 24 months. Okay. But then after you do that, there is like a history exam, which is interesting. And so when you look at the overall format, the Mexican government's interesting because they're just like, yeah, cool, like read these books. And then you see this like huge list of books that's like very like overwhelming because it's like, man, like I speak Spanish, but I've never like studied Spanish history textbooks. Like that's going to be more challenging. And then, but then once you start digging into it, there's actually a lot of great resources to help you with the study. There's actually this community online. There's a Facebook group. I think it's called like Mexicanize Me or something like that. But I think I put a tweet up about it. But anyways, you can go in there and there's actually like study guides that people have helped. It's like this community of just kind of like sharing information to help you pass the test. And so it's not that bad. But essentially, what's interesting is there's not a lot of like gringos, so to speak, that are applying for it. It's mostly like people from other Latin American countries that are,
Right.
trying to get out of places like Venezuela, Central American countries, or other places that really want to relocate for serious reasons to Mexico. So if you're like a gringo, it's a little bit of you're kind of an oddball in the group. And but the test, you do have to study a lot. Like, but essentially, people have narrowed it down to like 300 plus potential questions, and you could basically take that. They have a great study guide, and I just memorized all those questions with like flashcards, and it was all in Spanish. And then you roll in, you take the test. It's a 10 question multiple choice test. And it's kind of funny because you sit at this like you can take the exam in multiple places, but in Mexico City, it's like you're sitting in this big like waiting room, and then the people go up and like take the test, and then like a lot of them just like get it wrong, and then they just like get kicked out of the room, and it's like very embarrassing. It's like
What do you
so
mean get it wrong? How do they? It's
yeah,
getting
so like
marked on the spot, or what do you mean?
yeah, so like there's basically like, there'll be like four people conducting the test at like a computer and stuff. And then like there's chairs of people waiting. And then so you get your name called and like you go up and then they like immediately like put you through this like history exam. And a lot of people like
One by
fail the
one?
history exam. Yeah, one by one. And
One by one?
then yeah, it's
See, because
like
I did
you
it.
do
I did it for Paraguay. I wrote the citizenship exam for Paraguay, and it was
yeah.
like 20 of us in a room silently writing the thing at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
So this is a very different format.
Yeah, like you'll be interviewed by somebody. So I guess it's like I forget which goes first. It's either like Spanish exam or like history exam. It might be Spanish exam for foreigners. But if you're from Latin America, you don't take the Spanish exam because they assume you speak Spanish. But if you're from an English speaking country, you have to take the Spanish exam.
Right.
And it's basically just like a few questions on like grammar and like, or reading comprehension on certain things. It's like not a big deal if you speak Spanish. But
Hmm.
then it's like, okay, now we're going to do the history exam. And yeah, it's like you go up to this, counter, and then there's a person across from you, like, okay, take the test on a computer. And then you like put it in. And if you get more than two wrong, they stop the entire process and they just kick you out.
Two wrong
but
total or in a row?
two wrong total. So you have to get at least 8 out of 10 correct in order to pass the history
It's a
exam.
10 question exam.
Yeah, 10 question exam. Yeah. And the questions, it ranges from it's like culture and history. So it's like, who are the Olmecs? Like who is, the leader of the Mayans during when Cortez showed up? Like, who is, then it goes into like the revolution, like who's the leader of the revolution? What songs did they write? Like, what food is this? What ingredients are in this Mexican dish? Like, it's really bizarre. Like,
Mm.
but yeah. So if you get more than two wrong, it's over. You have to come back another day and reapply.
And you
And
watch people do it and you watch them fail. It's like that's like a really
yeah, and
extra
like
layer of
I was
pressure,
so
no?
sad. I saw one girl go up there. They're like, "Okay, like you're out," and she starts crying immediately. And then I was like, "Oh my god!" So it's kind of like nerve wracking. You're like, "Oh man, this is gonna be so embarrassing if I fail." But
So you're hearing the questions that
oh
other
no, it's
people are
just on
getting
a
asked?
screen. You just like watch them go up, and it's like they go through a multiple choice thing on the screen, and then you just
Uh-huh.
see if they pass or they don't. Yeah,
Based on
and
the
then
reactions.
based on the reactions, exactly.
Okay.
And
It's
yeah, and then
there's no like buzzer like bang.
no, no, no.
Okay.
Pretty funny. But yeah, no, it's interesting. And then yeah, then after that it's just documentation. And then you wait, And then you wait. I think it took me like after I passed the test, put in my documentation, it was like I think I got it like 12 months later, the passport or something like that. But most people get it in like 6. I think for whatever reason, it just took mine a little bit longer to process. Yeah.
Mhm.
But during
So
that time you could leave the country. Yeah.
after you submit,
Yeah. That's no problem. Yeah.
let me do some due diligence here because I know there's some things people will want to know. Did you have to have a RFC?
Oh, great question. You do not have to have an RFC in order to apply. Yeah. But it is required that you have an RFC as a permanent resident or a temporary resident now, I think. But it's not really enforced in Mexico. So you can actually show up with just a CURP, which you should have
Yeah,
as
as a
a
resident.
resident, right? And so you can apply with that. That's no problem. And but after you become a citizen, it is recommended that you get an RFC. Yeah. Now at that point, you can actually like if you're living in Mexico, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. But if you're someone that's like planning to get the passport then live abroad, you can get something that's like an RFC that says, "Hey, like I would like an RFC, but I do not make income in Mexico, and I'm going to live abroad." So you can do that too. Yeah,
Okay. And you got the INE?
yeah. I have the INE, man. I do. I have the voting card. That's really interesting. Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy. Like, because, in the US, like to vote, it's like in Chicago, you can just like roll up and they're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "I'm McGee and I live at this address." They're like, "Cool, come in and vote." Like, whatever. Like, you don't need to show an ID or anything. And here in Mexico, to get a voting card, man, like they do biometric scans. They want like a utility bill of where you live. Like they want your proof of citizenship. So I actually had to have like an apostilled certificate of my naturalization letter in order to even go in there. And it's very, very like regulated. And so you have to show proof of citizenship in order to get like a voting card in Mexico, which is, yeah, kind of wild. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool idea. I enjoy showing that around.
Yeah, that I think that one would make the Mexicans laugh the most, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
they're always blown away by that, man.
what about people want to know how the days in country are tracked? Is it more about what it says in the Migraciones system, or is it about the stamps physically in your passport, or both? Or what was the kind of the vibe you got?
Yeah, great question. So for me, I think it was like I think I was like pretty close to like the limit of like being out of the country, right? And
Hmm.
so basically what happens is this is actually one thing that slowed it down because I had like spent so much time outside of Mexico during that period. Like I was like maybe 30 days off or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And but under the limit, right?
Hmm.
And so you have to be there 18 of 24 of the last months prior to application. Okay.
Hmm.
So when I went in, I think I was like 30 days below. And they were like, "Oh, like, are you sure about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, totally sure. Like, I have it marked." So I just recommend like marking your days in an Excel spreadsheet, have that ready to go. And also, as you're doing it, I would recommend like making sure you have a clear stamp in your passport because they do want to see the a scanned copy in your when you're coming in. Like, you're going to have to scan those, and the markings have to be clear. So if they're not clear, you have a missing stamp or if you have a faded stamp that's not like totally there, what they'll request is that you have to like get the official documentation from immigration that you entered and exited the country at those times. So make sure that you have that. And so that's really, really important because that was like an extra thing. You actually had to, like, my lawyer had to go and like get additional documentation from a different government agency that I had left and exited and entered at that time. So that stuff is important, and they do pay attention to it.
So
Yeah.
your stamps were not 100% ideal, and you had to
Yes.
request the
Yeah.
records.
A couple were faded. I think one wasn't even there. Like it was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially if, other countries are inconsistent with the stamp and, whatever they don't stamp you in and out of Brazil or
Yeah.
whatever correctly, can mess
Absolutely.
things up.
Oh, and another thing that the person I was working with recommended is that we like print out like keep a record of your plane tickets in and out because that also helps too. Just in case there's anything missing, like, yeah, like here's the plane tickets. Just make sure you have it documented because that's something that can mess up the application. Yeah.
Okay, so that slowed your thing up, just how you were close to the limit and they felt they needed to double check.
Yes, yes. And that's one thing. I think that's where most people get held up a little bit. And, that'll take like a month or so of backlog, maybe longer. Yeah. But yeah, definitely recommend making it absolutely clear entrances and exits. Yeah.
Awesome. Dude, I was very close. I was at over a year of physical presence, and I was like, okay, if I can do kind of, 5 more months, then I can apply. And I
Yeah.
just wasn't able to do it with my digital nomad lifestyle. Like I'm still between, places too much. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not worth it. Like not seeing my family just um,
Totally.
to apply for this thing when I already have multiple passports. But I'm going to be coming back to it. I was close, and I'm going to be coming back to it.
Amazing, man. You should. You should. And so you have Paraguay as well then.
I don't have the citizenship, but I have PR and I have like the
Okay.
citizenship in process. But
Amazing.
we'll see what happens with that. The way things are the way things are with Paraguay, I might have Mexico before I get Paraguay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Mexico's awesome. I love Mexico, man. I mean, it's also just, fun being, I spent a lot of time there. I love it. I love the culture. And it is very fun being an actual Mexican. So it's cool. It's cool.
Have you met some Mexicans outside of Mexico, and you tell them, and they can't believe it?
Yeah. Everyone thinks it's the weirdest thing. I mean, like, I clearly look like an American guy. Like, I do not
Yeah.
pass.
I mean, you
They're
could
just
maybe pass for Mexican.
maybe, right? But no, everyone's just like totally shocked. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? This is like how it's a great story. People from Mexico love it, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for sure. But I've met people all over that are always fascinated by it. It's cool.
And when you put out the tweet or the thread, kind of telling your story, what was the reaction to that? Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information.
Whoa, that was really interesting. Like, I always find it fascinating, like on Twitter, like X, whatever you want to call it. And you probably see this a lot because you have a lot of stuff go viral. But I'm always blown away because I'm fairly new to this. I haven't been tweeting very long, but like I put out that thing thinking like, oh yeah, like this is awesome. Like this is exactly the type of stuff that like I think people that I'm interacting with are gonna enjoy. And I would get kind of a split reaction. It would be like, cool, like this is awesome. I find this interesting. I would like to do something like this. Wow, McGee, awesome, cool, like well done. And then there's this other camp of people who are like calling me like a total idiot, like I'm ruining my life.
Really?
Oh yeah. It was like some really strong reactions of comments, like very anti what I was doing and like hard trolling, very hard trolling. And so what I realized is like, wow, this is interesting. Like I'm in this kind of bubble of thinking like this lifestyle is really cool. And this is fun stuff to do. And why wouldn't you want to do this? And that's the way I view it. But then I realized like, wow, there's a lot of people that like really think I'm crazy. And like think that like and are also like very anti living abroad, think it's un-American, think it's like I don't know, kind of an insult to your heritage in a way. And it's bizarre. Like it's really
You don't
bizarre.
have to renounce,
Yeah.
which is probably worth mentioning that you don't have to renounce.
Yeah, you do not have to renounce.
You're still a U.S. citizen.
Absolutely.
All rights and privileges. You know, one person, I'm reading the thread now, actually, like the comments, now that you mention it.
Mhm.
One person alluded to an important issue there, which is this idea that if you, after naturalizing, if you spend more than 5 years outside of Mexico, it could potentially be stripped away. And then the question
Yeah.
is like, well, does that mean literally not visiting Mexico in 5 years? Or, what kind of does that look like is kind
Yes.
of vague. So what have you kind of picked up so far?
Yeah, so what I've understood when I speak with immigration lawyers about this and check this is that it's literally if you're not in Mexico for 5 years. That's kind of like the enforcement action on it. So if you spend time in Mexico within like a 5 year period, you are fine. You'll be able to renew, et cetera. I think basically like what they're looking for is just kind of like, do you come to the country during that period. But the hard interpretation of it, do you have like a residence there that you go to? Like that could be something looked into. But this thing is not really enforced. But the other thing is that, from my understanding, from the immigration lawyers that I've spoken with, is they're just saying like, yeah, like if you're someone that comes to Mexico and you plan to visit often, like once a year, every once in a while, every the other year, it's not a big deal. But literally, the definition is if you do not come to the country for 5 years, you might have a problem renewing your citizenship, or they might take the passport away. if you are
But it's
outside of
not
Mexico
like
for
an
5 years.
automatic action. It's not like they have a Python
No.
script and it's like, okay, 5 years, one day, revoked or something. Like
Yeah.
there would have to be like a legal process where
Yeah.
like
And you could
against
sue.
you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you could appeal it. Um,
Yeah. It most likely, what I've been told, it probably would never happen. Like basically, like it's not enforced. Even if you did, for whatever reason, not go to Mexico for 5 years. But I assume if you become a Mexican citizen, you're probably going to want to go to Mexico.
yeah. I bet if you just didn't visit for 20 years and then pulled up, I think you'd still be, honestly. But
I think you'd be totally fine. Yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like, what's the rule of law and then what's actually enforced? Like that's kind of a lot of what happens in Mexico. And that's one of those things.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, if a country's willing to give you a passport, you should visit once every 5 years. Like, what's wrong with you?
totally.
But uh,
Yeah, like why become a citizen, right? I mean, clearly, like, yeah,
yeah, Mexico's pretty easy to visit. I mean, it's like who
yeah,
wants to get tacos? I mean, I can barely.
yeah,
I'm trying to go,
yeah,
dude. I need
yeah.
tacos.
Like you want to,
I've been abroad for more than 2 months, and I start getting cravings.
oh yeah, it's like oh no, like they have some of the best beaches in the world. Like Mexico City is one of my favorite cities ever. It's so fun. It's so fun there. And yeah, I mean, of course, it's an easy decision to pop into Mexico. Not a big deal.
Trying to think if there's any other questions um, that would have you like, yeah, I guess misconceptions or myth busting around this Mexican citizenship process. Are there any other kind of epiphanies that you had, or things where your expectations and the reality ended up being different about this naturalization process?
Yeah, let me think. So yeah, one thing is, let me see. Well, yeah. Uh, I don't really know. Let me think about that. I'm trying to think like what happened beforehand. Like, well, the thing that I thought was interesting about the whole process is people think Mexico is like this chaotic bureaucratic place, right? Like they think like everything's. I think people have a lot of misconceptions of like
Mm,
what is the government like in Mexico.
hmm
And I find Mexico to be actually like in the government offices, like when you go through the application process to get your citizenship, very organized, like very organized. Like, of course, like there's delays and there's things, but they are professional. They have processes in place. It is very organized. And then it's like, going through getting your INE, for example, like I was shocked. Like there's so many facilities where you can go and apply for your INE, like very organized group of people, very nice. And I just think like Mexico has this perception that like it's chaos, but really like it's a well-functioning government, and they, in a lot of ways, superior in organization to government offices I've visited in the United
I
States.
would agree with that
And
in a lot of ways. A lot easier to
I
get
thought
a
that was
police
interesting.
check and
Yeah,
a lot faster
it's
to get an
true.
apostille. You can get an apostille done for you on the
Immediately,
spot. On the spot.
immediately.
In
Yeah,
the US,
it's
it's a month.
just exactly, exactly, and that's wild about Mexico. It's like there's a lot of misconceptions. It's like even I put out that tweet like a few weeks ago about like, the homicide rates in cities in Mexico. Like that's a big misconception too. It's like actually like what is it like Mexico's like 13, 14 out of 100,000 murders a year. Chicago's like in the 20s, right? Like 23 or something like that. And I think like a lot of people, and I've heard so many people from Chicago be, oh my God, Mexico's the most dangerous place ever. I can't believe you're living there. And it's like, dude, like, have you like seen like what goes on in Chicago? Like what actually happens relative to neighborhoods in Mexico City? It's like night and day in a lot of ways. But
Yeah. So we got maybe 5 more minutes here. A
mhm.
couple random questions. Does Chile have a accelerated path for other Latinos, like for Mexicans? Did that Mexican citizenship give you a benefit in Chile? Like, which passport did you primarily apply on?
So for the residents, I used my U.S. passport, and that's processing right now. I'm doing something called the rentista visa, but there was no benefit for me using the Mexican passport. I think the only thing was like where your criminal background check comes from.
Right.
And but yeah, it really didn't make a difference from what I understood.
Well, if you
Yeah.
ever were to naturalize Chilean, maybe if you did if you did the Mexican one, then you could skip the Spanish test, right?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Yeah.
that would be like one small benefit, but
Yeah, that's true.
and then it sounds like you're a Spain enthusiast as well. Are
I love
you
Spain.
are you
Yeah.
going to try to
Love it.
pull the 2 year citizenship? I don't
Oh
think
man.
it'll work for I don't think it'll work for naturalized citizens like yourself. But I mean, you're
Yeah.
living and breathing this. Maybe you've read every scrap of information on the
Yeah, I
internet
have. Yeah.
about it. So what? Yeah, this is the groundbreaker right here.
I
What
have.
is your professional opinion, McGee? Do you think a naturalized Mexican citizen would get accelerated to your path to citizenship in Spain? Yes or no?
No, I've dug deep into it. It is not possible, from what I understand. And yeah, it's only people born in those countries. You have to be, or basically your parents. You're getting it through some sort of birthright or
Yeah,
descendancy. But yeah, naturalized people. I think there was a Supreme Court decision about this, or whatever the highest, court is in Spain, and they actually like had a big battle about this, and they ended up like saying no, it's only people that were born or come from parents. So
interesting. I
naturalized
didn't
people
know
are
that.
not eligible.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
there
yeah,
was a Supreme Court case.
yeah.
All right, I got to find that. So, and do you think it would apply to the descendants? So, say like a Mexican American born in the U.S., their parents are Mexican, they get Mexican citizenship by descent, which we do a lot of at My Latin Life. We do a lot of
Yes,
descent cases. I
yeah.
think those people, yes, will get the 2 year
I
citizenship.
agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, yes, that would be a yes.
Excellent.
No, that comes up all the time. But yeah, and I was like, oh, that would be amazing. But yeah, no, but I do
But your kids
love
could do it.
Spain. Yeah,
Your kids would
kids
have a
could do
two
it.
year your kids would have a 2 year path wherever they're born, even if they're born in the U.S., because they'll get Mexican citizenship
Exactly.
by descent from you, and then
Exactly.
they'll be citizens at birth, and then they can do 2 year Spain, even if they were born
Yeah.
in the U.S.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, man. Pretty cool. But yeah, I love Spain. I particularly love Madrid. I think it's an amazing city. I'd love to spend more time there. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of like, a month here and there. But yeah, it's cool.
Nice, man. Well, we'll have to get to wrapping up here. I do have a hard stop in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of final message you want to share with the audience, where they can find you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. Follow me on Twitter, X. It's just McGee Clegg, MaGeeClegg. Yeah, and you can see me posting about my life here in Chile and general thoughts about, why it's better to live outside the USA. So,
That's it. Yeah, there'll be a link in the description of the episode to McGee's Twitter. I would say McGee is a must follow. So
thank you, man. Thank you.
cool. Well, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Guys, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like McGee, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.